when you jack the transmission up, just catch the corner of this heavy plate. You don't really have to jack it up, you just need to take a little tension off of it so it doesn't fall when you take that mount off. And then I set a jack stand right here on the back of the block, front of the transmission. So make sure you hold that and put a couple jack stands under it, keep it up off the ground, because when you take that transmission mount off, that transmission will hang down. Now I didn't even take this back mount loose because I didn't let the transmission drop. So there's really nothing you got to do under the car besides put the jack here, throw a jack stand here. This jack stand ain't even, it's just for safety in case the jack would come down. So, but just make sure you get this metal heavy skid plate. Don't put it on the pan. See how I got the corner of that plate? Basically, we took out the air box, the battery box. Okay, now here's our transmission mount. We've got one bolt right down here, one bolt right here, which this is actually a stud. It takes a nut on top of it because it holds this clamp. There's one bolt in the back. The mount comes apart in two pieces. You got two big bolts here which hooks the two mounts together. On the top half of the mount you've got a bolt right there. There's a bolt in the back here, and there's a third bolt. It's up under this plastic. You can pull it out far enough to get to it. There's a third bolt right down in there. So you got 6 bolts total. Take all the bolts out, kind of wiggle it, slide it apart. It's not too difficult. This plastic makes it a little tricky. And there's the top half of the mount. Now we got this on the transmission. Take this bottom half of this mount out. Right there is the G68 vehicle speed sensor. Right here is your gear ratio G38 sensor. This one is just a 10mm bolt. Take that bolt out. This one, I believe it's a T20 torque. But your wire harness runs around, under, comes through here, plugs into this. So we take that 10mm bolt out and just twist this, and it pulls straight out. But you might find this little O-ring gets a little dry, so it doesn't want to come out. But if you just pull straight up on it, maybe grab it with some pliers or something, won't hurt it if it's bad. Pull it up and out, and this is it. Now I did have a problem on mine. If you see my plug, this is like the old type Volkswagen plug where it has the metal clips. This is my Bug's 98. It's one of the first 98s per the VIN number. So I have these old style clips on mine. When I looked at this speed sensor, I found quite a few of them where they had what they call a D-plug. It was a different type of plug on this end, or it was a universal. So that's one thing to look for on the new one. I had to make sure it was for this car, because I believe the part ran 99 to 2014, and this being a 98, it was different. So I just, as always, gave the dealer the VIN number, got the right part. So that's how we get it out. To put it in, we're just gonna make sure you lube up this O-ring. I'm gonna take some Volkswagen transmission fluid and put it around that O-ring, clean that hole out real good, and just ease it on down in there. Okay, and right here under the battery box, you got these 4 bolts. That's what holds the battery tray in. And right here is where our ground cable goes into the body and gets a ground. Then from here it proceeds on to the motor and grounds. This is where everybody has a ground problem, and actually my cable is kind of burned up right in there, so, or just corroded. So we're gonna fix that while we're at it. Taking a closer look at this battery cable, actually it's not corroded. it just had grease all around it. So my cable looks good. Here's a little nut, holds it down on here. That was all clean. I have not had any ground issues with this particular bug, but I know that's an issue, so I thought I'd take a look at it. What I did do, since I already had another cable for it, I ran a secondary ground, and what I did, I don't know how good we can see it. Here's the secondary ground that I ran. There's a bolt that holds a bracket onto the back of the block right down there. It's this bracket right there. And that bracket keeps the power steering hose out of the fan. So I took that bolt out and I ran another ground right off of the back of the block. It comes up and it's going to follow this ground up to the battery, and then I'll just bolt it onto here, so I'll have a secondary ground on that. Just a precaution while I got this off.